Guys?
Triple Recto back here.
And today, we will be doing my NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 predictions. So let's jump straight to it.
First match on the card, we have EC3 going up against the Velveteen Dream.
EC3 is probably going to come out with his yellow and black attire. And it will also be EC3's second ever TakeOver match. His first match was at the NXT TakeOver in New Orleans in that 6-man North American ladder match, which was an absolutely awesome match. For Velveteen Dream's attire, I hope he wears something like the Rick Rude tights that he almost always wears. And he had multiple TakeOver matches versus likes of Cassius Ohno, Aleister Black, and Ricochet. But now, who is going to win versus Velveteen Dream or EC3? I believe EC3 needs the victory more, so EC3 will pick up the victory.
Next match is Adam Cole versus Ricochet for the North American Championship.
Ricochet would either come out with his sort of red and white attire or with his black and white attire. And he also made his first appearance in NXT at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And ever since then, he competed at 3 takeovers. First one was at TakeOver New Orleans in that 6-man ladder match. And the second one was versus Velveteen Dream. Adam Cole also made his debut at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And ever since then, he competed at several takeovers at the likes of TakeOver Philadelphia. Also competed at TakeOver War Games, which was probably one of the best TakeOver matches ever. Just like Ricochet, he also competed in that 6-man ladder match for the North American Championship. And he's the member that actually picked up the victory in that match. But for the win, I believe that Adam Cole is going to retain his North American Championship. Next match we have is Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain for the NXT Tag Titles. The Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly won the NXT tag titles for the first time at TakeOver Philadelphia. And at TakeOver New Orleans, that's when Roderick Strong joined the Undisputed Era. But on an episode of NXT, Mustache Mountain won their NXT tag titles and retained their titles at the UK event. But on an episode of NXT, Undisputed Era retained their titles. So for the victory, I say that Undisputed Era will retain their titles just because if Adam Cole retains, I believe that Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly also need to keep their championships. Up next, we have Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's Championship. This is a rematch from the finals of the Mae Young Classic, but which ended up that Kairi Sane won the Mae Young Classic, but did not win the championship. But at the NXT TakeOver Philadelphia, Shayna Baszler beat Ember Moon and won the NXT Women's Championship. And I believe that this TakeOver is going to be no different because I believe that Shayna Baszler is going to retain her NXT Women's title. For the main event, we have Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship in a last man standing match. DIY first won their first tag titles at TakeOver Toronto a few years ago. And then they lost their tag titles versus the Offers of Pain at the TakeOver. And at the end of that match, that is when Tommaso Ciampa pulled the trigger and turned on his former tag team partner, Johnny Gargano. Tommaso Ciampa would get injured, and then Johnny Gargano would move to have a feud with Cien Almas. He would get 3 matches with him, and he would lose all 3. One of the matches was at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And the next match was at the TakeOver Philadelphia, and that is where Tommaso Ciampa returned and hit Johnny Gargano in the back with a crutch. Then Andrade and Johnny had a match for the NXT Championship, and if Gargano loses, his career in NXT is finished. Johnny Gargano was about to win the title, but then Tommaso Ciampa came back again to hit him with his crutch. Cien Almas Hammerlock DDT 1, 2, 3, and he retained his championship, which meant Johnny Gargano had to leave NXT just because of the Sicilian psychopath known as Tommaso Ciampa. A few weeks later, William Regal said that at NXT TakeOver New Orleans, it will be an unsanctioned match, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. And that match was probably a five-star match in my opinion, and finished by Johnny Gargano winning. But that feud was not over, because at NXT TakeOver Chicago, they had another match, which was, I believe, a Chicago street fight, and it ended up Tommaso Ciampa picking up the victory. Now, Ciampa and Gargano would go separate ways for a few months, and that's when Tommaso Ciampa had a NXT Championship match versus Aleister Black. Gargano screwed Black by accident, which led to the Sicilian Psychopath winning the NXT Championship. And then William Regal decided we will have a triple threat match for the NXT title at the TakeOver Brooklyn 4. But then Aleister Black suffered a big injury, which he will not be able to compete. So now led us to this match, and for the win, I believe that Johnny Gargano is going to pick up the victory, win NXT Championship, boom, feud over. Then we could have different contenders like EC3 and everything to compete for that title. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been my TakeOver Brooklyn 4 predictions. You guys can be looking forward to my SummerSlam 2018 predictions, which will come out a little bit later in the day, or worst case scenario tomorrow. Like I said, that, thank you guys for watching. Bye for now.